Welcome to the Write the Damn Book Already podcast. My name is Elizabeth Lyons. I'm a 5-time author, and I teach people how to write and publish powerful, thought-provoking nonfiction and memoir without overthinking or getting caught up in extreme overwhelm. Because your story and message matter, and it's about to become someone's very favorite resource. For more book writing, publishing, and how the heck do I move through this glitch tips and solutions, and plenty of free resources, visit publishaprofitablebook.com. Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Write the Damn Book Already. So you probably know that I typically interview authors, and in rare instances, I interview people who aren't authors or who aren't yet authors, which is the case today, but have incredible insights that can greatly benefit authors. So today, my guest is Sam Garcia, who is a friend of mine, and she is also the founder of Dirty Alchemy. Her ads agency runs Instagram ads and Facebook ads for some pretty large brands. So she absolutely knows of what she speaks. And she is the only person to whom I go when I'm like, I'm thinking about dipping my toe back into that pool, but how? What's the best place to start? What's the simplest place to start? What's the most cost-effective and informative way to start? Because you've got to know what the data is doing and what the heck to do with it. And I think that for many authors, even people who are running successful businesses and have successfully run ads through Facebook and Instagram for their business, when it comes to their book, it feels like foreign land. And they don't know where to start. And certainly if you've never run ads before on Facebook and Instagram specifically, you may be wondering where the heck to start. And if the first place you attempt to start is by logging into the Facebook ads platform, you're probably going to X out of that pretty darn quickly because it is a little overwhelming. But as Sam will share, there are really only a few things that you need to be looking at, especially in the beginning, and you can grow from there. So I asked her if she would be so kind as to come on and chat with us about how to know when you, air quote, should start running ads, or what are some indicators that this isn't the right time to run ads, and what's the, again, air quote, right place to direct those ads to. There are a lot of different kinds of ads you can run, and I think that this is where people ultimately get super confused and overwhelmed because nobody wants to make a poor choice, and definitely nobody wants to make a poor choice that costs them money. I wanted to take it down to the simplest possible starting point to say, if you're just getting ready to dip your toe in, what are some ways that you can experiment with these ads in a way that feels comfortable and can start to feel fun, and what expectations can and should you have? Because honestly, that's what screws people up the most, in my opinion and in my experience, is having the wrong expectations. Thinking that other people are launching an ad at 8 a.m. and making money by 5. That is, I'm going to say, not happening for 99.9999624% of the population. That's just not how it works. So when people start that ad at 8 a.m. and it's not converting by 5, and then they either quit or get in there and start changing things around, they only set themselves up to be more frustrated because they think they're doing something wrong, and they're not. They just need to know from an expert source, okay, here's how we start simple and we get fancy later. As my great friend Jen Hansen DePaula says, we start simple, we get fancy later. So please enjoy this conversation with the amazing Sam Garcia on how you can start simple when it comes to running ads through Facebook and Instagram for your book. So you are the person that I ask everything to if I have a question about ads, like Facebook and Instagram. I'm just like, Sam, what do I do? Because I find it to be one of the most overwhelming things, period. Mm-hmm. And I've been looking at ads, forever, as an author, as a product creator, like all the way back until, for as long as I've used Facebook or Instagram, I've tried ads, I've done it, and I've just given up because it's just too much. So you running ads for some pretty big brands.
Yeah. Right? Let's call them brands.
Let's call them brands. Okay. You're very comfortable in that space. Mm-hmm. So what I wanted to talk to you, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this, and it's funny because I'm always like, well, I have authors on my show. Like, I need you to have written a book, but you're writing a book. So you're sliding in under the thing. And also you're such a wealth of information. I know you're going to be helpful on this because I talk to so many authors who want to run ads and they have no idea where to start and they're so overwhelmed. So they just don't even do it. And they can't justify the cost many times of hiring an agency to do it. Yeah. Especially when they don't know yet, like what works. Right. Yeah. So in your experience right now, like forget a year or 2 years or 3 years ago, is the whole ads, Facebook and Instagram, is it still a valid way to find new readers?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question. It is absolutely different than a few years ago, but there's a reason that it still exists.
Right. Okay. And so let's just get like super basic. What's the easiest place and the most unoverwhelming way for people to start? Like, let's talk about budget. So people will say, well, how much do I have to invest? And sometimes people say, oh my God, you want to invest $1,000 for a $10,000 course? Like there's all this discourse that just gets people really overwhelmed. What's a good starting point? If you have a book that's selling on Amazon for $14 and your goal is to hopefully not lose money on the ads, where do we start?
Well, let me preface this where I've never run ads on Amazon. I
didn't mean Amazon.
Yeah.
Did I say that?
Yeah. But like if you're selling a book on Amazon, it's a little different than selling running ads to a website that you own, just because you can't track, which is a little tricky. I've absolutely done it for clients where like I've helped 2 clients with traditional book launches and a handful of other clients with self-published book launches, specifically around ads and like creating book funnels and stuff. So I am familiar with books and ads specifically. And with one of the clients, she wanted her Audible book was doing really well, and she wanted to run ads, Facebook and Instagram ads to it. And it's a part of it is a gamble because you can't get this direct feedback of like, I spend this much money and it creates this many sales. But she was fine with it. We weren't spending tons and tons of dollars. It was just like more of a, but going back to your original question, which is around the super basics, the most basic is you can fucking boost a post.
Okay. So
is a thing. Like I've tested boosting. It is like a different ecosystem when you're boosting a post versus when you're using Ads Manager. So Meta now, this thing called Meta. I'm still getting used to that. There is what's called.
Don't get used to it. They'll change it again. It'll be fine.
They'll probably change it. There's Business Manager for Facebook ads. That's like the term. And then there's Ads Manager under Business Manager. So those are some quick terms. And that's where I usually go to make ad campaigns. You have a lot more customizability. But I have also had situations, and I live on a farm and there's peacock making peacock noises. So you might hear weird bird sounds. We forgot to warn.
I've never heard in my life. I didn't even know like a peacock cocked. Is that what it's called? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think I now.
It could be the soundbite for the episode. You're talking about peacock cocks.
That was rough. Okay.
Anyway. But I have done side-by-side campaigns of testing, boosting a post. And this was for a local business. So I haven't done it for online business, but like boosting a post to a local audience versus doing it in Ads Manager. And in that case, the boosted post actually did better and got better results. So you could just start with boosting a post from your Instagram. It will always prompt you. I'm sure if you have a business Instagram account, it's like, this post is doing 99% better than all your other ones. Right. Do you want to boost it?
I get that all the time. And then I don't know if sometimes I wonder, is that just the fodder, right? Because of course they want me to spend the money. So I think that's interesting.
There's so much less customizability with it. But if it's something where you just want people to see it because you're doing a book signing in a local area and you just want to boost it to the people around it, like that could be a great idea for you. And in terms of budgets, I'm not even talking about thousands of dollars for, if you, there is, going back to some basics, there's something called a reach campaign versus a conversions campaign when it comes to ads. Those are two very common types of campaigns you will do. The reach is you have, the whole purpose is reaching people. What's cool with it is you can cap the amount of time someone sees something. So when you tell Facebook, this is the outcome I want you to optimize for. If I tell them I want as many sales as possible, they might show the ad to the person that they think is going to buy like 10 times or more, like a bunch of times.
That's me with every beauty product on the market right now. I see it I'm like, how many times? Apparently you have no cap on this. And
I had a new one. Like I kind of get used to, like, it goes in snares. I got an ad for condoms yesterday.
I can't. I don't think they're showing that to me, given my age. I'm sure I'm outside the age range.
That was brand new. I'd seen like there's plenty of like beauty products or like online dance classes. Like they always retarget me for. I'm like, this is legitimate. And then like yesterday I got like condoms. I was like, and it was like a woman talking about condoms and like it was in a hipster way. I don't know. Okay, this went down a weird channel. So we tell Facebook what we want it to optimize for when we're using Ads Manager. And if you're like, I want as many free opt-ins for my lead magnet as possible, it's going to show it to people who are most likely to opt in. Or I want as many landing page views as possible, it's going to show it to people who are most likely to click through to the landing page. If you can do post engagement as the way that it optimizes, so it's going to show it to people who would actually engage and comment on the post. So with reach, it's a little different. It's going to reach as many people as possible, and you can cap. So like, I only want some people to see it once a week or once every 30 days. Or once a day, and which is like a fun little area. So if you just want eyeballs on your post because you're announcing something new, you can say, I want anyone who follows me on Instagram and everyone who has been to my website in the last year to get hit with this post, this reach post. Those ads are very cheap. I'm talking like a few dollars a day. So it's just really cheap to be able to do that. If we're talking about sales conversions or opt-in conversions, those get more expensive. I usually recommend to start in the $25 a day range or the 25 to 50 a day. And you can even just run it for 3 days and gather some data. So
so is it more beneficial to do, let's say $25 a day for 3 days than to do $3 a day for 20 days? I don't think I did the math right, but if your budget is $100, is it better to compact it into a smaller period of time for data collection?
Again, if you're running a reach ad, like I would only do $3 a day for an extended period of time versus like it blasting out. It's like actually better to like spread it out. But if you're like, I am trying to optimize for people to opt in for my lead magnet, you do want to do higher, like that $25 a day, just because it needs money to actually run for that kind of campaign. If you put the budget at $3 a day, you're not going to get like any data. It might not even run, honestly.
So you said something earlier that I hadn't even thought about, but it's stupid that I hadn't thought about it. I mean, I'm kind of like banging my head against the wall that I didn't, which is you can run an ad that goes to Amazon or that goes to Audible, but there are reasons to do that, in that it's a direct shot and then you hit the buy button and off they go. But also you have no data. So I talk to authors a lot about having a lead magnet, something on their website, because they're trying to build their email list too. Yeah. That's a huge piece of this. So for people who are looking to build their email list, they're not just looking to sell a book with every click. They're trying to build a community of people. Do you recommend that they have that on their website and that is where the ad goes?
Yes, absolutely. And that could be, like you said, a free chapter. It could be video. It could be you reading one of your chapters, like the audio file of one of the chapters, or a worksheet that goes with the book. Like there's so many different options for lead magnets that can really go well for authors. And it would be something where you want your lead magnet to be hosted on a place that you own, like your website, like you have your domain. Don't just have it hosted on, like, what's an example that people might know? You can make these landing pages with your email service provider. A lot of times, like if you have ConvertKit, you can make a landing page in ConvertKit, or you can make it with MailChimp or whatever. You actually want it on a domain that, or else you can't track it with ads, which is interesting.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So you like build out, embed your form from your email service provider on a page on your website. Have a thank you page. Don't just have it be like sometimes forms, it won't actually redirect to a thank you page. It'll just be like, success, go check your email. You want to redirect to a different page that is just the thank you page, because again, we want as many ways as possible for Facebook to be able to track that it's working or not. So if you have its own thank you page, it's able to actually track that, and you can get good data of how much it's costing you to get an opt-in.
So is that too where there's a difference between, we see a lot, and we've talked, you and I, about a lot, the concept of people landing on a page, but then kind of aborting, right? Like they land on a page, but they don't fill out the form. So in my experience, there's a difference in the data between how many people people will click on an ad and come to my lead magnet and then decide they don't want the lead magnet, which is so interesting to me. But if they go further and get to the thank you page, that actually tracks as a conversion.
Yes.
As opposed to just a hit, a lead, I don't know.
It's like a page view.
A page view.
It is a smart idea for a more advanced technique, and ads are fun and you're playing around with it and you're curious. You can run ads that are specifically talking to people who have viewed your landing page and didn't opt in. So with audiences, like you have the capability to target the people who have viewed that specific landing page, your opt-in page, and then exclude people who have hit your thank you page. And you can tell them, like, you can be cheeky about it, of like, hey, you forgot something. Hey, are you still interested in this thing? And it's a different messaging, because it's a different audience than someone who hasn't been to your landing page.
Correct. But that you recommend later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Someone is they're getting ready to release their book. Mm-hmm. Okay, here's a question. So how soon in advance of a book coming out, let's see how we, not that we disagree, but like our differing opinions on if a book is coming out in June, when would you recommend that people start running ads to a lead magnet in order to build an email list, in order to be able to announce to a group of people where the algorithm is not in control that the book is out and you can go buy it?
I would start 3 months ahead of time.
Okay, we are the same.
If that freaks you out, I would say a month ahead of time. But my initial answer is 3 months ahead of time.
Yeah, I usually say 2 to 3 months, but many times I talk to people and they freak out because when we have the conversation, the book is coming out in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so when I say, 3 months, they go, well, I missed the window.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that there is no window to miss because you can always start today. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So even if the book is coming out in June, it's coming out in June, pretend it's coming out in August, unless you have a deal with a traditional house where the pressure is on you to sell a certain number of books in a certain period of time, you have a long runway. So to make it as simple as possible, we've got lead opt-ins, page views, all these different things. If someone said to you, Sam, tell me which one to do first, not with no pressure that if you get it, air quote, wrong, anything bad's going to happen. But what would you recommend?
I'm a big fan of owning your audience. For sure. I'm sure you've talked about this before, Elizabeth, of like algorithm changes all the time on social media. It is incredibly stressful. So if you have a social media following, or if you don't, but if you have a social media following, it's a smart idea to try and capture that in a place that you do own, which in a lot of cases is your email list. So if you can I would run ads if you have a following, I would run ads to your quote unquote warm audience. So people who have visited your website, people who follow you on social media, people who like your page. And I would just start there of how do we capture as many people from your audience into and get them on your email list. With that, I would go from there because you're going to get better numbers. You're going to have cheaper opt-in costs with people who already know you versus a quote unquote cold audience or even a lookalike audience. That's like a fun thing that Facebook does or ads do where you can create a lookalike audience of your email list, for example, or people who have bought from you or people who like you on Instagram. You can make these lookalike audiences, which are like kind of freaky that Facebook knows all, but it does. No. So I would start with create a good lead magnet that is juicy and interesting and valuable. Create an opt-in page. If you're listening to this, you're probably a writer. So, I mean, don't be too cheeky with it. Like, be very clear what the value is. Let your personality come through, but it is about the person reading. It's not about you. So sharing what's the value with that. So make your little lead magnet, your opt-in page, your thank you page. So you have to like have that completed before you even set up the ads. And then in terms of starting the ads, if you have $25 a day to spend, that's the number I would shoot for. If you don't,
that's always a tricky thing for me. And I'm just going to be really sort of blunt here and say that I'm kind of blunt with the people I talk to in that if someone comes to me and says, I can't afford a cover designer, which you can do typically for a few $100s and get a really nice cover design. I can't afford an editor, which worst case scenario, you can use a student, you can use you can find what you need, but I'm not going to do any of this. I've seen in certain forums, people saying, don't ever pay anybody anything when it has to do with your book. And so they're not mentally prepared. It is what it is, but they're not mentally prepared to spend any money on promo that isn't an air quote sure thing, which by the way, there is no such thing, as you and I both are well aware, and most listeners are well aware. And so when people say, I don't even have $5 a day to spend on ads, with the most compassion in the world and also great respect for their sanity, what I say is then wait till you do.
Yeah.
But what is your feeling on that?
Yeah, I'm just like, you're not gonna, if we're talking about an opt, so this is, if it's $25 a day, we're talking about $750 a month, which is, it's something for sure. But I would organically share. I mean, this is actually a great tactic. Learn how to sell it to your own audience organically. Create reels that go viral in not a million view kind of way, but
by accident.
And I mean, this is the best ads replicate what works organically. So it is smart. Like if you're launching a program off of your book, learn how to sell it organically and then use those as the ad copy that you're going to use and put money behind it. It's not something where you can test things with ads. And if you do have the budget to spend, it goes quicker when you can get some eyeballs and you can see, oh, they're not opting in. Oh, my conversion's low on this thing. Oh, the click-through rate isn't here. And like all of these different metrics tell you different things that you can edit if you have the budget for it. But if you don't have the budget for it, you need to learn how to sell it organically first before I would ever put money behind it.
So that's another great question. What is I'm going to use the word again, but the runway for having enough data? So you and I have a mutual friend who you ran ads for recently, and there was a large amount of money invested, I think by most people's definition in that. And I remember talking to this person who knew in their brain that the first at least month was tweaking.
Yeah.
And figuring out what worked. Mm-hmm. How long should people expect to be doing that tweaking? And is there a correlation between how long they should expect to do it and how much money they're spending per month? Because I think the idea that like, I'm going to start running an ad today and I'm going to make $7,000 off of it tomorrow, that's just poor expectation setting. And that's one thing that you do so well. And I know that not just by talking to you, but I know that from talking to our friend who said unequivocally, Sam set my expectations perfectly. I was not and it lets someone's nervous system be okay through the whole thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
So this is tricky because I'm like, who is your audience? These are authors. They might not even know how to sell a course or something or a service off of it. But do they? You tell me.
Sometimes, I mean, I would say that when people, I would say that when I'm talking to people who are interested in running ads, the reason they're running ads is not because they want to sell a book. Mm-hmm. So they are knowledgeable enough to know there's two categories. There are the people where their book is kind of their passion project and they love to talk about it organically. And when it sells, it sells. And when it doesn't, it doesn't. And they're fine either way because they have another full-time job or they're not relying on the book sales for income. Or there's the other contingent of people who are writing a book to support the thing that they do primarily. So they are looking to reach more people and get the word out and spread the word and help people who maybe can't afford to work with them one-on-one or in a group setting or whatever the case may be. So they're looking to ads it's not necessarily to get people to buy the book. It's to get people to be aware of them because what the book is about is exactly what they do day to day. It's all the same. It's all tied together.
Yeah. Okay. So assuming that the people listening know how to sell stuff and they have stuff to sell other than the book.
Right. Right.
It so depends. And it depends on how much you are willing to pay attention to it. Cause some people just want to start ads and like check it a month later, which is a thing.
It's 100% a thing.
Like where it's like if I'm looking at, here are some metrics I would look at. If I'm doing an opt-in campaign. If I'm doing an opt-in campaign for the book, for a course sale after the book, like you should know what your general conversion rates are for your courses, or like this is your invitation to look at them because they're important to know.
Okay, there you go. Very well said.
So like you should kind of know like, okay, I have X amount of people on my email list, or I have X amount of people signing up for my webinar, at least the last launch I did. And this is how many people signed up. I can at least use that as data and know what comes from that. So knowing those numbers, your data is much better than anything I could tell you, because there is quote unquote industry average, and there's plenty of people who do far worse or far better than industry average.
Right.
But like things that I would pay attention to, I'm usually running something for 3 days minimum before I touch it. I'm just like getting data for 3 days, or like I won't even look at it for the first 48 hours other than like, is it running? Just because the first ad campaign you ever ever put out, you're going to be like freaking out for the first 24 hours, like obsessively checking it. I guarantee it. I guarantee that is going to be.
It's like when your book comes out and you're just hitting refresh, refresh. And Amazon only refreshes once an hour. So like a lot of that time is not well spent. But anyway,
yeah. So like I don't edit anything for the first 3 days. Okay. I'm just trying to get numbers in and being like, cause like it could go really well the first day and then do much worse after 2 days later. Or it could be really bad the first day and get much better after the 3 day period. So generally, I'll let it go for 3 days and then I'll start looking at numbers and making decisions from there. But you can also gather data for like on the longer end, I'll do it for 7 days. So like a 3 to 7 day of just like letting things be, depending on your budget and how uncomfortable you are with your budget, obviously.
And then how many things do you change at once? Are you a proponent of change one thing and see what happens, or?
No, I like to change a lot of things.
Do you? Okay, so that's where we're different, because I'm like, if I change 3 things and then it does, well, I don't know what the catalyst was.
So but I'm like looking at very specific numbers. So in ads, there's something called the cost per click and the click-through rate on the ad. If those numbers are bad, it means there's like the ad itself isn't doing well. So a click-through rate is like what percentage of people are clicking through. And then the cost per click is how much money you're spending just for them to click through to the page and click through on the ad. So it's like either that's an indicator that the audience is bad or that the ad is bad. So if I'm seeing bad numbers there, I'm like directly like, okay, I need to change these specific things, either the creative or the copy, the caption, or the audience.
The audience.
We're all three. And then beyond, if those numbers look good, but like my opt-in cost is really high, then I'm going to look at what is the conversion rate on the landing page. So if my landing page is only like a 20% conversion, like only 20% of people who hit that page opt in, I'm like, that's not good. I'm always shooting 40 to 60%. That's a really good range to be in. If it's below
Does that mean there's
like,
a disconnect? Is there a disconnect? If a lot of people are clicking on the ad, but then they're not opting in, is it because the ad doesn't well reflect what they're actually going to get?
It'll depend. Is this a brand new landing page or is this a landing page that you know? If it's a landing page you've used and you've had good conversion rates in the past, I'd be like, okay, like something's wrong on the ad end. But it's often like, let's make tweaks in the landing page end. Like, is the title not actually juicy? Is the offer not even juicy? If it's a brand new lead magnet, like it could be shit. Maybe you had a bad idea because you didn't test it organically. Let's be honest, okay?
It happens.
But it can be like titles, it can be colors, it can be if like the opt-in form is too low on the page. It could be that you're using really high resolution photos and it takes 5 seconds to load and people will definitely click away before those 5 seconds. So
and you know what I've noticed too is the difference between the way it looks on mobile and desktop. So sometimes on mobile, like you have to scroll down to get to the sign me up button or whatever it is. And I just don't even notice that until frankly, someone points it out to me. And I'm not even talking about an ad. I'm talking about,
my gosh, and you guys, like you definitely need to check how your page looks on mobile. It is so important. Like, I think it's like 80% of people will look at your landing page on mobile, but you're probably building it on desktop and never look at the mobile.
Can you imagine building it on mobile? This might be age related, but I can't even see.
I know you use Kajabi too, because you can click mobile.
Yes.
So like I always make it on desktop and then like fix it for mobile or like Squarespace is.
I mean, like actually holding your phone. Does anybody no?
It just seems dumb.
I totally agree, but I didn't know if it was just me. Okay, so
wait, there's another point in this. Oh, so for example, and you and I have personally talked about this. There's something called a self-liquidating offer, and it's a low-priced thing that you sell that the whole point is just to pay for the ads. And yes, you can make money off of it, especially if you're upselling off of it. But the whole point of it is just to cover your ad cost. So we set one of these up in our business a few months ago now. And when I first put it off, it took like 2 weeks of running ads before I even made a sale. And I was so stoked on that first sale. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, this isn't good. This is not paying for itself. And we changed, I didn't change the ads. I changed the numbers were pointing to, I needed to change the sales page. And it was like changing some of the colors in the header. And I was like, oh, I want to make this more premium feeling. I want to make it more mysterious. I want to make it like prettier in my opinion. And we also changed the name of it. We changed it with the 5 keys of a spellbinding sales page versus the 5 keys of a money-making sales page. And like, it was just that switch. Like, and if you think about it, it speaks to different things. So it can be as simple as like one word in a headline, which sucks.
I've noticed that. And I've noticed it even, I haven't run ads in a long time, which is why one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about it, because I actually went in the other day. I have a new self-liquidating offer or what's intended to be that. And I went into, I don't know if I was an ads manager or business manager. I don't know where I was trying to get my pixel in Kajabi. And I was like, I feel as though in the 18 months since I've been in that site, like business manager, ads manager, it's completely, I don't even know what any of this is anymore. And I can see where it's so over. It almost feels like it was created for people like you who are agency, right? You're running an agency.
Trying to make it simpler. I've noticed recently that they're collapsing some of the pages. So like you're making it all in one spot. So they are trying to make it friendlier for people. If that gives you any hope. But with it, I wanted to bring up the self-liquidating offer because you could think of your book like a self-liquidating offer, especially if you're self-publishing and you're selling it off of your website, like a $15 thing, a $25 thing, even a $5 thing. That's like, that fits the bill.
That fits the bill. And there are so many ways. So what's interesting is that when you send, there are all these different discussions in the book community about like, do I send people to Amazon or do I sell off my website or do I do this? Do I do book funnel? There are all these different ways that you can make more, but have less visibility. So sometimes it's about selling off Amazon because you're looking for reviews or, you're looking for verified buyers because then they can write reviews. You're looking to go in the rankings. Like, what's your goal? Sometimes, I have talked to authors who are making a great deal of money and impact selling the book off of their website through something like BookFunnel or, some service, right? Where, and for a digital book, that's for an ebook, that's not for a paperback. But if we're talking about digital products, even audiobooks, selling them off your website, profiting far more significantly, if that's the goal, to have them on your email list. We don't own Amazon. I don't think Amazon's going anywhere, but who knows?
Yeah.
Right. So if someone, this may be a tricky question, but if someone said, okay, Sam, what are the criteria that what are the questions that I should ask myself in order to determine if it's a good time to jump into this ads running game?
Having a budget to spend, like that's number one. Like if you don't have money to spend and it would really break the bank to run them, don't run them. Like learn how to use your time instead and learn how to get people opting in or buying from you just from posting on social media or making a podcast or doing YouTube videos. So do you have a budget to spend? Would be number one. Are things working well organically already? This is not required, but like if you have things working well for you organically, it is much more likely that the ads are going to do well right off the bat. And you'll have to do less testing because you already know the words to use. You already know the media, the video, whatever to use. It just makes the whole process easier. If you don't have any audience at all and you want to build an audience, like that would be a great reason to start ads. If you're like, I want to be extremely visible with my book, then you creating an audience with ads is not a bad idea. Are you willing to learn how to run ads?
Right.
Or do you have the budget to hire someone to run ads?
Yes.
Because if you think it would be cool to have the results of ads, but you're not actually willing to learn how to run them or pay for someone to do it, then that should knock it out right there, right? Should be an obvious question. I think people aren't thinking that.
No, I absolutely think that. And I think in the course community, for people who have courses or people who have programs, I've heard, and I tend to agree with this myself, but if you aren't able to sell your course, like if your emails and your social media posts are not converting your current clients, thinking that ads are the magic bullet, unless you're looking to completely eliminate your current audience and go into an altogether different niche, and your intention is to build that audience through ads, that's not going to be the magic bullet. Now you're just adding more layers of crap onto something that's not working. Like you can't amplify something that isn't already working.
Yeah. It's like if it's converting at 1% or like 0.1% right now, and you put more people into that, it's not going to improve that 0.1%.
Right.
It's like, you might as well work on trying to improve that. Like, how do I sell this better? How do I improve my messaging? How do I up level my branding? There's so many things that can actually help with that conversion rate. So, if you have a track record and you've never looked at your data, go look at your data. It's it can be scary for some people. Some people get really triggered by tech, but you can make much more informed decisions around where to direct your energy and your focus if you actually know the data of what you have.
Yeah.
Just if you are going through an actual book, a launch of your book, and you want to create some pages around it and have some ads supporting it. I'm sure you've seen this in the book world, but during the pre-launch period of your book where you're just trying to get sales, whether that's Amazon or on your website, you can create bonuses for people. So launch bonuses, which is, I mean, honestly, like it's essentially an opt-in page. And I'm going to tell you my questionable things I've done with this. Not very questionable, but you can, if you are selling something, let's say on Amazon, and people get it's very common on these landing pages of like pre-launch bonus for this book I'm selling. Go buy it over here. And there's like links on the page to go buy it on Barnes and Noble or Amazon, or I'm sure there's other ones. And then you come back to the page and you put in your receipt number. That's essentially an opt-in page. And you can either think of it like, okay, I'm going to have my virtual assistant, or I'm going to go through and like double check the receipt number, or like I've set it up for people. And like most authors are fine with like, if they're putting something in here, I'm fine with giving them whatever.
Most people, believe it or not, are honest about it.
Yes.
Like exactly. You might, and this is along the same lines as I have so many people ask, well, should I send my book to beta readers? Should I send a chapter? What if they steal it? Should I post an excerpt on social media? What if someone steals it? And I'm like, we got to talk about this because you're struggling to get your book written. Do you honestly think someone is going to take an excerpt and then go write a full and then make a bestseller and make millions? It's not going to happen. Yeah. So the idea that someone is just going to, but what if they put in a fake receipt number? Most people will not do that. Yes. Will some? Probably. But yeah. Is it worth the effort and your time to create, like to verify everything? No.
Yeah. No. So it is something where you can think of that as your landing page during your pre-launch period. Like maybe you do a normal leading up to it, but once you're ready to actually pre-launch, you can have a masterclass or the audiobook or all of these other different ideas that they can get as a bonus if they pre-order. You set up this it's essentially an opt-in page and they get it on the back end. And you can do the same once the book is live. It doesn't have to be pre-launch bonuses. It can just be book bonuses.
Absolutely. And so here's the thing that gets tricky when people are either hybrid published or self-published is that pre-ordering without going into a lot of detail is a nightmare. So pre-orders work amazingly if you're with a traditional house because there's a whole back-end system for that. Yes. They want to know how many books to print. Yeah. So they want their authors to get as many pre-orders as humanly possible. But when you're self-published or when you're with a hybrid publisher and there's not an offset print run, a big print run going overseas or here in the state or wherever, then the back end work of that, yes, you can set it up technically for pre-order through an Amazon affiliate account. It's just an insane amount. But
okay, so this will just be your launch bonuses once it's available.
That's what I'm saying. But let me tell you who did this so brilliantly really is Laura Belgray. So her book, Tough Titties, comes out, I think, in June. First of all, the title sells the book. Like, I don't need a launch bonus. But what she did, and what was really interesting, Barnes and Noble had this whole thing going for a couple of weeks where all of their books, if you pre-ordered through Barnes and Noble, because they're a business too, and they would rather that you pre-order through them than through Amazon, were 25% off. But what Laura did was she said, look, here's the link. You can go pre-order at Barnes & Noble for 25% off, or you can pre-order at Amazon. I don't care. But if you fill in this thing and you send the receipt, and I think that's how she did it, you could come to a 1 hour live with her where she just over Zoom detailed the whole book writing, publishing, getting an agent, like she just came out with it.
Yeah.
And it was recorded. And so if you couldn't attend live, you got the recording. And then she ran snafu.
What is Tough Titties about? I don't know this person. So I'm like, I'm guessing she writes for authors, right? And that's why that bonus.
No. And this is why So this is why this is fascinating. Okay. So her podcast actually comes out on Write the Damn Book Already tomorrow. So tomorrow's Wednesday, the 20th, something like that. Right. She is a copywriter. She is a brilliant copywriter. Like she teaches people how to write emails that sell. She is Marie Forleo's partner in Marie's course, Copy Cure. I mean, this is what she does. She's an absolutely amazing email writer. Like I read everything she sends and I know it's going to try to sell me something I don't need right now, but I still read it because it's such a damn good email.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I interviewed her for the podcast, and I had gotten the advanced copy of Tough Titties. And I was like, what in the world is this about? When you get an advanced copy, you don't really always know what the book is about unless you've also been given back cover copy, which I wasn't. I just was like, this is a freaking great title, like send her over. And so in reading it, I didn't know it's a collection basically of essays about her life and how she got to where she is as a copywriter and as a person, and her no hustle mentality. And it has nothing to do with selling her courses or her programs or anything. It's like, and so I wasn't joking, but I said to her, you did not write the should book. The should book would be marketing, copywriting, how to do this, how to do that. And she said, I probably could have gotten a much bigger deal and all of that. It would have been a lot easier to get a publishing house to sign on if I had done that, because I had the built-in audience, but I was just like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do it. But amazingly, she still, because her audience there's so much crossover, especially with people who want to write books. I mean, you can be a farmer, you can be a weightlifter, you can be a knitter and still want to write a book.
Yeah.
And so within her community, which is quite large, so many people said, number one, I want the book, so I'll pre-order it. Fine. I want to support you. And also I want to come to this thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm curious about
it is actually a smart marketing thing to have this more personal book anyways, because it's like, why do Instagram stories work so well? It's because we want to see the behind the scenes of people's lives. And sure, we'll buy your courses or books or whatever, but really show me your life.
Show me your life. Show me because I think in the end, that's what so many people attach to is someone's values and how they show up in the world. And so on that note, how do you advise? I mean, I know how much people love working with you because you're you and you're awesome, but how do you advise people to pick? So what are some things to look for and that are important to make sure are synergistic if you're going to work with an agency, if you're going to hire someone to run your ads? Because oftentimes people will say, well, I do have a budget for this, but I don't want to blow it on the wrong person.
Yeah. I mean, there's some different agencies and different managers do different stuff. So getting clear on what's an option and what's not an option and whether this person does it or not. So for example, some places won't write stuff for you and they won't create graphics for you. You just have to give it to them and they're just doing the technical side of setting it up in Ads Manager, which could absolutely be great. They're usually less money because you're just paying them to technically put the ads in. So do you want that help or do you not? We will do full reviews of our clients' landing pages and sales pages and give feedback. And I will go in and technically fix stuff because it's faster for me to do it than tell you what I want you to do. I'm just so people will, there are places that are more hands-on and less hands-on, and usually the cost will be reflected in that. Important things to know, make sure you're making your ads manager in your ads manager. Some people, agencies will set it up in theirs just because it's legitimately easier. It would be so much easier for me if I just set it up for everyone and I didn't have to tell you how to do it on your end or screen share with you to show you how to set up an ads manager. But you definitely want to own that. It's not transferable. Don't make that mistake.
Like an ISBN, baby. You want to own it.
And it is some places will pay for the ads and then get reimbursed by you, which I think is ridiculous, but then you don't have a pulse on how much is being spent at all. And things can go awry if there's any, because even if it's totally well-intentioned, if there's some level of miscommunication and then suddenly you spent 10 times more than you thought and they're billing you at the end of the month for it. Again, it's so much, it would be easier if I would just put my credit card in, I would get fucking points from it. What a score. But you want to be the one who's actually paying for it on your end.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that the person would pay the agency, your preference is the person, and the way you do it is the client pays you for the service, but then the amount that they're spending on actual ads.
Their credit card is in the Facebook account and they're getting charged. some other agencies will do it so that their credit card is in there, because
Okay.
you have the ability to set it up that way. And it's just way better if you know how much is actually coming out, because there's usually an account limit of like either $100 it'll charge your card, or like $900 it'll charge your card every time. So like there's like multiple charges throughout the month, and you can just like, you can see it and you're aware of it. Other things with agencies, yeah, I mean, do they have a copywriter on board? Do they have a graphic designer on board? Will they help you, guide you with creating reels or give you ideas? How often do you meet, or is it just a communication on via email? What is the turnaround time? So it's just like with anything with business, just getting clear on what you prefer, because some people fucking hate meetings, and you don't want to have to like not know anything until there's a meeting. Like, do you have their phone number or their Facebook Messenger so you can message them? Like, it's just like the really small little things that can make a business relationship harder or easier.
So knowing what you want and then finding someone who can. Okay. So lots of times, and this will be my last question, I think. Lots of times when people are publishing, especially with a hybrid house, they get in a sticky situation because there are questions that they don't know to ask.
Yeah.
So they don't know to ask, is my book going to be loaded under my own Amazon account or yours? They don't know to ask, do you receive the money first and then send it to me? Like, whose bank account is tied to the whole thing? Things like that. In this realm, if someone wants to work with an agency or with a ads partner, what are some questions, if we haven't already covered them, that they don't know that they need to know to ask?
I mean, I think we covered a few of them already, but like, how often do we meet? What are the different ways that I can communicate with you? Is it just via email, or there's other ways? Who's my point person? Like, do I have a project manager on the account, or is it you, that this person I'm talking to right in front of me? How often do I get reports? How can I view, like, where do I view my reports? It's funny because I have worked with other ads agencies, but like not tons and tons of them. And I've created my own little weird way just based on, usually my clients hate tech. And like, so I don't send them spreadsheets of reporting data. I like write an email with like a bulleted list with like my like interpretation of it. So like in some ways I can't even tell you because I just know what I do.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
But
like,
works.
again, like,
I mean, and then for getting started on your own, if you're not yet ready to bring someone in, you think the simplest, straightest to the point is boost something that's already doing well. And
I feel like that, okay, wait, that's generalizing it a little too much, because you can boost something that like it doesn't actually go towards your goals at all. Like
I certainly would want it to go toward the goal. I mean, I'm not going to boost the croissant reel anytime soon, even though that has seemingly done quite well. But so pick something that seems to be resonating, also has a call to action, or is in some way attached to what you're trying to do. So for example, if I posted, and I do regularly and you do regularly, about one of my lead magnets, and let's say for some reason, the graphic I use, the copy I use, something, it's performing really well.
Yeah.
That would be something to try.
Yeah. And you might want to look at the ones that are doing more profile visits than even likes or comments, because usually if there's a call to action, you're telling them to do the link in bio, which would be a profile visit. It's an insight just in your Instagram. Open your Instagram. You can see what, like, it'll give you a data on profile, but not on reels for some reason. I haven't been able to figure out. So
like for a specific post on Instagram, it'll say this post got you X number of profile visits.
Let's open our Instagrams.
Let's all work together.
So I'm just on my profile and clicking the little hamburger menu in the top right corner. And then I'm clicking insights. And then under insights, I will go to my actual posts, not my stories. And it'll automatically tell you the reach of the different things.
Right.
Change it from the metric from reach to profile visits. So if you click that little like icon that looks like a switchboard, and you can change the metric from reach to profile visits. Apply.
Okay. Now I feel excited about this because the one of mine that had the most is related to what I do. It is not related to how you pronounce French pastry items.
Well, I mean, why would those people go to your profile? It should obviously be something that relates to you. And I just changed mine from the last 7 days to the last year. So I can see the top.
Oh, smarty.
Top
Okay.
profile visits in the last year. Do you see anything surprising?
Well, my top 3 are all related. One is to my book writing workshop, my free book writing workshop. One was to a blog post about how to get your book stocked in bookstores. And the highest one was actually a review of my most recent book.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you can play around with like, what if you spent $15, so $5 a day for the next 3 days? And just, I think with boosting, you can optimize for profile visits. I think that's like one of the calls to actions. So they're organically getting good profile visits.
Can I do this? Can we do this just if I wanted to boost, let's say I'm looking at the one I'm looking at, and I wanted to boost it just from here. Do I have to go into the stinking ads manager, or can I just do it from here?
You just do it from here. I'm still in my insights, and I clicked my top profile visit one, and I scroll down to the very bottom, and there's boost this post, and you go from there. And I'm just realizing there's more data in here that I realized before. So I don't go into insights that much, honestly, but you can see if you click on one of your top profile visit ones and you scroll down, it will tell you profile visits and then external link taps. So you can directly see whether they're going into your link tree.
I almost feel I'm almost getting this feeling right now that depending on, it doesn't even matter how experienced or inexperienced you are with ads. I think people need to be paying more attention to these sorts of insights. And I think that people are very hesitant to do it because it's overwhelming. I mean, I didn't even know, I knew how to get into my insights in here, but I didn't know what you just told me. Data is not I don't love data. You know this about me. You love, 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 love data. I would rather pull my eyelashes out one at a time. And that would be the case even if the data, it doesn't matter if the data is air quotes bad or good. I don't know why. I'll have to look into that.
So one of the reasons I like data is a lot of people get emotional around business and like allow themselves to get overwhelmed. They're like, this fucking sucks, or this is going so well, nothing's working. But then if you can look at the numbers, it makes it more neutral and be like, this one specific thing is not working. So let's work on this one specific thing.
Yeah.
Or like if we're in our post insights right now, you can be like, wow, interesting. I got 23 follows from this post on nude psychic readings meme.
Only 23 and it included the word nude. What is going on? What is the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, I mean, you could go to thedirtyalchemy.com and
it's all there.
There's a button right on the homepage of work with us, and you just book a call with me and we'll chat.
I love the way you think about business. I mean, the thing about you, Sam, is you're not just about ads, to be clear. You're very multifaceted, and just the way that you help people understand the nuances of their business and the way that you speak to it is very magical with a K, which I think is now I'm realizing that's a thing, right?
It is a thing. And we do help, like we have a mastermind program called the Alchemical Business Accelerator that if you want to do ads with us and we'll help you with the process, like come join the mastermind and we can work on that together within there. We have a full-on program of teaching how to use ads manager and stuff like that.
And that can be a great compromise too, for someone who maybe is either A, nervous about doing it themselves and wants a little bit of help, but doesn't want to go all the way, or B, has done it on their own and is now looking for a little bit of a boost, but isn't yet ready to turn it all over. Some people don't ever want to turn it all over.
Yes,
you know,
I understand that.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. So even for people who are trying to do it on their own, we talk all the time about opportunity cost, like time lost. And I get it all day. Like there's a time to invest in something. And if something feels like a little bit of a stretch, cool, but nobody needs to fear that they're not going to be able to put food on the table. Nobody needs to be put in that position. I think it's abusive. It's a form of manipulation I'm just not here for. But if you're on the fence between the two, recognizing that you may very well lose a lot of hours of your life trying to figure it out on your own when you could just ask someone else, what's the shortest distance between here and here? And can you help me figure it out?
And like, honestly, the first time you go into Ads Manager, it's going to feel nuts and really overwhelming. But I swear, if you go in there like 3 times, it is suddenly really like, oh, I just like, these are the only pages I need to pay attention to. This is the only kind of ad campaign I'll probably ever run. Like, I'll just do this again kind of stuff. It does get so much simpler as you keep doing it.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, this is your friendly reminder to follow or subscribe, leave a quick review, and share it with someone you know has a great story or message, but isn't sure what to do next. Also, remember to check out publishaprofitablebook.com for book writing resources and tips, and to see all the ways we can work together to get your book out into the world. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk with you again soon.